Thank you, Harrisburg. What a fantastic turnout. Thank you all very much for being here. Let me thank Nate Davidson, State Representative. Let me thank Maurice Cobb, Jim Enders, Angela Ferrito of the trade union movement right here in Pennsylvania. And let me thank Congressman Chris Deluzio for the great work that he's doing for workers all over this country. Thank you, Chris. You know, I have been traveling this country lately. We've been in the Southwest, we've been in the Midwest, we've been in California, and we're here in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And we have talked to a whole lot of folks, not just Democrats. We've talked to Republicans who have come out, and I would not be surprised if there are more than a few Republicans here tonight. And we've talked to independents as well, and we've talked to people who have kind of given up on the political process. And what we are hearing loudly and clearly is the American people say no to oligarchy, say no to authoritarianism, and say no to an economy in which the rich are getting richer while working people are struggling. And on that note, I want to say a word to your Congressman, Representative Scott Perry. As some of you may know, the Republican leadership in the House and Senate are working on what is called a reconciliation bill. It's Trump's big, beautiful bill. And what this big, beautiful bill will do is cut over $800 billion in Medicaid, cut nutrition programs for hungry kids, and cut educational programs. And at a time of massive income and wealth inequality, what they propose to do with those savings is to give over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. Now, I am not in the habit of giving political advice to Republicans, but I would say this to Representative Perry. If you vote for tax breaks for billionaires and cut Medicaid, you will not be returning to Washington next term. Now, what is happening right now all across this country, we saw it in Philadelphia, yesterday we're seeing it all over America, is that people are sick and tired of a handful of billionaires running the United States government. And I want you to think about it for a moment. Think about the richest man on earth, Mr. Musk. Worth $400 billion, running all over Washington, D.C., dismantling the Social Security Administration so it's harder for older disabled people to get the benefits they paid into. Proposing to cut 83,000 jobs from the Veterans Administration. I mean, that's hard to believe. You got men and women who put their lives on the line to defend our country. There should be no disagreement, Republican, Democrat, Independent, that those veterans deserve the best care they can get. So we say to Mr. Musk and his billionaire friends, we are not going to allow you to dismantle Social Security or the VA. And what I think there is also profound disgust with, and again, from the right to the left, everybody understands that we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Now, think about it for a moment. Think about the fact that Mr. Musk himself contributed $270 million to get Trump elected, and then for his reward, he becomes the most powerful person in government. But I want to be very clear in stating this also. This is not just a problem within the Republican Party, it's a problem within the Democratic Party as well. I would say the overwhelming majority of Americans, again, regardless of your political view, do not believe that billionaires should be buying and selling politicians. And when we talk about oligarchy, I want you to think back 3 months or so ago when Trump was inaugurated. And remember this scene. Ironically, I got kind of pushed into the front row. I kind of walked in and they said, Bernie, you're up front there. So I had the privilege about being as close to Trump as you guys are to me. And sitting right behind Trump were the three wealthiest people in America. You remember that? Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg. And then sitting right behind those guys were another 13 billionaires who Trump had nominated to head up major federal agencies. Now, I think all of us remember from our school days when we learned about the Battle of Gettysburg right here in Pennsylvania. And it was a terrible battle. And 20,000 Union soldiers either died or were wounded on that day fighting to help end slavery. And a few days later, as you all know, President Abraham Lincoln went to the battlefield where just a few days ago people had died, horrible battle. And he looked out on that field and he said that so many words, our vision for the future of America is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. We will not accept a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, for the billionaire class. But it is not just oligarchy, and the power of the billionaire class that we are fighting. We are today taking on a president who in an unprecedented way is undermining our Constitution and threatens our freedom of speech and assembly. A president whose agents are rounding up innocent people right off of the streets, throwing them into unmarked vans, and putting them in detention centers in this country and abroad. That is what happens in dictatorships, not democracies. And President Trump, we are not going to allow you to create an authoritarian society here in America. But it is not just arresting people without due process and putting them in detention centers. Trump, again, in an unprecedented way, is suing media for the crime of running stories he doesn't like. And right now, and I want to say this to CBS, the family, I don't know how many of you know this, 60 Minutes did a story during the campaign that Trump didn't like. So he decided to sue CBS and 60 Minutes for billions of dollars, and they are thinking of reaching some kind of settlement. And they want to reach this settlement because they are in the process, the family that owns Paramount, that owns CBS, is in the process of trying to sell Paramount to some other company. And in the process, they would make several $billions. So I say to that Redstone family, do not sell out democracy for $1 billion. President Trump is going after law firms. Going after law firms whose lawyers represented clients that attacked him, went after him or his friends. And some of those law firms are caving in. So I say to those law firms, your job is to protect the rule of law, not sell out to an authoritarian president. Trump and his administration are going after major universities. And I want to applaud Harvard University for having the guts to stand up to them. So we got a lot to worry about in terms of oligarchy and authoritarianism and a rigged economy, but it's not just domestic policy. It's foreign policy as well. For the first time in the history of our country, we have a president who is cuddling up to a terrible dictator in Russia, Vladimir Putin. So I say, Mr. President, it was not Ukraine that began this war, it was Russia. And we're going to defend democracy, not dictatorship. But it is not just Ukraine. Trump is continuing the terrible policies of the Biden administration in proposing billions more for the Netanyahu war machine against the people of Gaza. And not only does he want $8 billion more in military aid to continue the killing of women and children in Gaza, they have an idea that is so unbelievable that people didn't originally take it seriously. And their idea, as some of you may be familiar with, is to forcibly expel the suffering people of Gaza so they could build a playground for their billionaire friends, a Riviera. Mr. Trump, we will never let you get away with that. And I want to do something that we don't do very much in Congress, and the corporate media doesn't do it as well. And that is to take a real hard look at what's going on in our country today in terms of working families. Today in America, as you may or may not know, we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of our country. If you can believe it, you got one man, Mr. Musk, owning more wealth than the bottom 53% of American households. You got the top 1% now owning more wealth than the bottom 93% of Americans. You got CEOs now making 350 times what workers make. And we don't talk about it much, but let me tell you something as to why I believe the American people are so angry. Over the last 52 years, as all of you know, there has been a huge increase and an explosion in technology and in worker productivity. Every worker in America today is producing much, much more than he or she did 52 years ago. And yet, if you look at inflation adjusted for weekly income, the average American worker today is earning less than she or he did 52 years ago. And during that period, there has been a massive $1 trillion+ transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. That is what's going on in America today. Very rich becoming unbelievably rich, while at the same time, again, hard to believe, in the richest country on earth, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck. Many of you are living paycheck to paycheck. You all know what living paycheck to paycheck is about? What does it mean? You tell me. Rent? Oh, one at a time. Raise your hand. Yeah, ma'am. All right. Utilities, medical bills. Right now, people all over this country are seeing significant increases in their rent. All right, they're seeing increases in their utility bills. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you got nothing in the bank, you're living under great stress because you can't pay those bills. What else we got? Yes, ma'am. Food. All right. You know, people are increasingly want to make sure that their kids eat well, not junk food, eat decently. And yet it is harder and harder when you walk into the grocery store to pay for decent quality food, right? All right. And I go grocery shopping in Burlington, Vermont, and I see senior citizens looking at the package, holding it up. How much does it cost? Can they afford it? So the increased price of food is a growing problem. What else we got? Gentlemen back there. No, what? Prescription drugs. In America today, if you get sick, just talk to somebody here in Harrisburg. If you get sick, there is a 1 in 4 chance you're not going to be able to fill the prescription your doctor wrote. Because we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs so that the drug companies can make zillions of dollars in profit every single year. What else is on people's minds? Yes, young lady right there. Education. Just talked to some kids today. Love to go to college. Love to get an apprenticeship program. I was in one of your schools today. Beautiful kids. And I sat and thought about these kids in Vermont, kids all over this country who want to go out and improve life in the country. We have desperate needs in America in terms of doctors, nurses, pharmacists, dentists, electricians, plumbers, sheet metal workers, construction workers, teachers. And yet, despite all of that need, these kids are saying, we don't know if we can afford to get the education that we need to do the work we want to do and work that the country desperately needs. All right, let me just say this, because I went through this with my family, and I see this every day as Vermont senator and as I go around the country. In America today, millions and millions of people are dealing with incredible amounts of stress. And that is one of the reasons why in our country, not only do we have a life expectancy that is 4 years shorter than people in other wealthy countries, but for the working class of America, it is 7 years shorter than for the rich. So here is the point, and this is a point that is very rarely made. If we were living in a poor country, we would have a certain type of discussion. I would come before you and I would say, you know, I'm a U.S. Senator. We're living in a really poor country. I wish we could provide health care. I wish we could provide education. I wish we could lower the cost of prescription. We just can't do it. We are a poor country. But that is not the case. We are the richest country in the history of the world. Now, what the establishment does is they create a situation where they tell you that politics is about a horse race, who's going to run for president, who's going to win, what kind of dumb thing did Bernie Sanders or somebody else say? That ain't politics. Real politics is taking a hard look at where we are today and where we want to go into the future. And where we are today is in an economy where the working class of this country is struggling and in many respects falling further and further behind, while the people on top have never ever had it so good in the history of the United States. And our job is to get smart, to figure out why that is happening and how we can turn it around. And in these unprecedented times, we've got to think in unprecedented ways. So So what I am asking all of you, it's not Bernie, I'm not going to do it for you. Deluzio's not going to do it for you. We have got to do it together. We got to get involved in the political process in many, many ways, because right now, with a few exceptions, what goes on is billionaires in both parties determine who runs for office, determine what the agenda of those candidates are. And our job right now is to demand and make certain that the agenda of the Democratic Party is the agenda of the working class of this country. And let me tell you a little bit, and it's important, you know, I deal with politicians every day, and people can give you wonderful speeches. They are dramatic, they're loud, they're witty, but they don't say anything. And your job is to make sure they do say what's relevant. Let me give you just a few examples. Number one, we're going to go nowhere as a nation unless we get rid of this disastrous campaign finance system. So when somebody comes before you, and they say, I want your vote, you ask them, are you going to get rid of this terrible, undemocratic, Citizens United Supreme Court decision and move to public funding of elections? At a time when the rich are getting richer and major American corporations pay almost nothing, some of them pay almost nothing in federal taxes. Why don't you ask them if they are prepared at a time of unprecedented income and wealth inequality to demand, to pass legislation telling the rich and large corporations they are finally going to start paying their fair share of taxes. All over this country, workers want to join unions. And they want to join unions because they know that when you're in a union, you're going to get better wages, better working conditions, better benefits. But right now, large corporations acting illegally are preventing workers from creating unions. Ask the candidates in front of you whether they support what's called the PRO Act to end illegal corporate intimidation of workers who want to join a union. In America today, here in Pennsylvania, and all over this country, we got millions of workers earning starvation wages. Nobody anywhere in America can make it on $7.25 an hour, not on $10 an hour, not on $13 an hour. In Washington and here in Pennsylvania, we've got to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. And I've introduced legislation to raise it to at least $17 an hour. And here is an issue that some may think is controversial. I don't. And some of the unions are now raising it. All of you have noticed that Musk and his friends have fired thousands and thousands of federal employees. Now think for a moment. These employees, federal government employees, many of them union members, get fired overnight. What do you think Musk and his oligarch friends will do when artificial intelligence and robotics comes for your job? Do you think they're going to say, oh, well, we're going to work out something for you? They're going to throw you right out on the street. That's what they'll do if we let them. So right now, at a time when workers are producing much more, worker productivity is increasing, we should be thinking about a 32-hour work week with no loss of pay. Technology should benefit workers, not just the large corporations who own that technology. We need the best educated workforce in the world. And that is why our kids should have the opportunity to live out their dreams, to get the training they need, the higher education they need. 120 years ago, very brave people around the country, I think it started in Wisconsin, demanded free public education for their kids. And for all that period of time, free public education meant K through 12. God didn't create K through 12. The world is changing. Kids need more education. Let us make public colleges and universities tuition free. And by the way, if we are going to have the best public education system in the world, we need to pay teachers the value of what they're worth. And I've introduced legislation to make certain that no teacher in America starts off at less than $60,000 a year. Many of you don't know this because it's not talked about, but 22% of senior citizens in America are living on $15,000 a year or less. Got that? Can you imagine anybody, let alone a senior, living on $15,000 or less? And in the midst of that, you got some Republicans who are saying they want to cut Social Security. Well, we're not going to let them cut Social Security. What we are going to do is expand Social Security benefits. And we do that by lifting the cap on taxable income. You know, I get around the world a bit. Just the other night, last week, I had a very nice dinner with the ambassadors from Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And we chatted. And I said, just out of curiosity, how much does it cost to go to a doctor in one of your countries? And they looked at me like I was a little bit crazy. Of course, in those countries, in many countries around the world, health care is seen as a human right, not a privilege. It is an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace and a failure of our corrupt political system that we remain the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child. Right now, if you can believe it, again, I keep saying if you can believe it, because these things are so outrageous. We have 85 million Americans uninsured or underinsured. Many of you have high deductibles, am I right? All right. And by the way, people in other countries don't even know what the concept of deductible is. The idea that you have insurance, but you got to pay the first $5,000, $10,000 out of your own pocket is literally crazy. All right? So we got 85 million uninsured. or underinsured. We have 68,000 people dying every year. You know why they're dying? Because they can't afford to go to a doctor when they should. Talk to doctors, I do, in Vermont, around the country, and they will tell you patients walk in much sicker than they should be. Brothers and sisters, health care belongs to all, rich and poor, young and old. And that is why I have reintroduced, with 15 co-sponsors in the Senate, Medicare for All single-payer program. Donald Trump thinks that climate change is a hoax. He is very dangerously wrong. And we can create millions of good-paying union jobs, transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. In Harrisburg and in Burlington, Vermont, and in many parts of this country, we have a major housing crisis. You got 800,000 people who are homeless in our country. You got 20 million people who are spending 50% or more of their limited incomes on housing. In my view, we should cut the $1 trillion in military spending and invest that in building low-income and affordable housing. So, brothers and sisters, these are some of the issues that we've got to deal with. And I want to reiterate once again, what the system, what the establishment, what the media, what politicians do is essentially tell you, you are powerless. The oligarchs have all the power. They own the media. They own the political system. They own the economy. And they tell you nothing you can do about it. Well, I'm here tonight to tell you that there's a hell of a lot you can do about it. I'm here tonight to tell you there is no rational reason why we are behind so many other countries in terms of health care, in terms of housing. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country. Highest rate of senior poverty of almost any major country. More income and wealth inequality than almost any other country. Brothers and sisters, this is an unprecedented moment in American history, no question about it. But what I believe in my heart is that while these guys have all of the power and they have unlimited sums of money, if we stand together and not allow Trump and his friends do what demagogues always do, how do they stay in power? They divide us by the color of our skin or where we were born or our sexual orientation. They get us to hate each other. But if we stand together and demand a government and an economy that works for all, not just the few, if we understand that at the end of the day, 99% is a hell of a larger number than 1%. If we have the courage to go outside of our zones of comfort, talk to other people, talk to your Republican friends. They don't think that billionaires should get tax breaks. They don't think that Musk should be destroying Social Security. So let us stand together. Let us defeat oligarchy, let us defeat authoritarianism, and create a government and economy that works for all of us, not just the few. Thank you all very much.